The life of a knight wasn't all fighting in tournaments and wooing noble ladies and bashing your enemies in battle. That's obviously a part of it. There was a whole area of more mundane day-to-day, but just as exciting activities that the knight had to be involved with. A knight owed allegiance to his lord, and he owed military service to his lord. Surprisingly, in the early feudal period, that only amounted to about 40 days of service a year. So for 40 days you could be called on to fight or to serve as a guard of the person to whom you owed allegiance. And outside that time, you obviously spent much of it hunting and training for war, and also managing the court systems and managing your landscape and looking after the household, the machinery of the household that you were in charge of. Amongst several of the responsibilities a knight would have would be the right of high and low justice. And that means the right to imprison people, although that wasn't done very much in the medieval period, but the right to mete out punishment or fines. Now sometimes the crime was so severe that the knight would say, I'm not competent enough to do this, we need to wait for the king's court, and that court would travel around the country probably annually, and all of those courts would be held in a particular place at a particular day for the serious crimes. But generally speaking, the local law, if you like, was meted out and judged by the knight. So probably for several days a month you would have to sit there listening to people pleading about somebody stealing their pig, or somebody ploughing the wrong field, or somebody chopping down somebody's apple tree. So important points, arguably not particularly severe breaches of jurisdiction of the law, but nonetheless really important for an agrarian culture. Your biggest problem as a knight, though, comes when the king turns up with his court. Now, that would be a great honour. Unfortunately, it would also be a great burden, because the king doesn't bring his own food. Nobody else brings food either. So he turns up, he demands great conditions to live in, he demands good conditions for his entourage, he demands food and lodging for his men-at-arms and his soldiers and his knights. When the king turns up, you would have had plenty of forewarning, because you needed to get a whole bunch more stuff in. The king usually didn't stay around for very long, simply because there wasn't enough food in the local area to feed him. So he'd move on after a week or a month, but he'd leave behind a scene of devastation with people saying, well, he's eaten everything, we'd hardly have anything left. And there are stories of people claiming that the plague had hit and sending letters to His Majesty saying, you can't come to stay because we've got the plague, thus avoiding the king coming and eating them out of house and home. How true those stories are, I don't know, but it would be tempting, wouldn't it, to, if you were a knight of modest means, to try and dissuade the king from turning up and eating everything you'd put aside for the winter. There's an awful lot more complexity in a knight's life than one might expect, but there is one component that I think deserves much further detailed study. That is the horse. A horse and knight are almost synonymous, and the relationship and ability of a knight's horse were integral with the ability of the knight to fight battles and to travel and to do all the other things that he needed to do. Next episode, we're going to look at the special relationship that a knight would have had with his horse. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.